But as human beings, our greatest glory consists not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. As I leave public life, I will first do what I need to do to help and heal myself and my family. Then I will try once again, outside of politics, to serve the common good and to move toward the ideals and solutions which I believe can build a future of hope and opportunity for us and for our children.
Every time I see that clip, my eyes shift to the left-hand side of the screen, and I'm focused on Silda Spitzer's face as her husband was resigning the governorship. That was then, this is now. What a difference just 5 years makes. Eliot Spitzer announcing his comeback, and already the chattering class has begun to speculate about how he can win or if he's going to win. Is this the end of the sex scandal, though, as a political issue? Lots of examples out there. Take Anthony Weiner. He went from an embarrassment, having to resign from Congress, to a front-runner mayoral candidate, and that happened in a span of just 2 years. Mark Sanford's extramarital affair and the Appalachian Trail love affair became national news in 2009. Just 4 years later, he was being sworn in again, this time as a U.S. congressman, a position he used to hold. And David Vitter, senator from Louisiana, accused of using prostitutes years ago. His name was on the Rolodex of the D.C. Madam. He is still in office and is on the verge of entering Republican leadership in the U.S. Senate. Obviously, every situation plays differently depending on the circumstances. But is this the end of the sex scandal in terms of American politics, whereas voters are willing to at least consider looking past it and trying to decide whether the person is qualified?
Always have been.
Always have been.
FDR, Ike.
People didn't know about
Reagan,
those nearly to the extent that we know now.
The JFK.
People didn't know about that until years later.
You know what? And if they had, they would do what they're doing now. Well, they would look askance, not dismiss it completely, and then say, what are you going to do for me? And that's not a stupid question to ask. Very talented people who are committed to the right things in their public life are not always saints in their private life. Most people, once they get to a certain age, understand that's the case. I think the difference is first hypocrisy, where the leader is an outspoken moralist and then transgresses. It's much harder to recover than if you were always viewed as somehow somewhat open in your ideas about personal stuff.
David Vitter is kind of a family values Republican. There's not a lot of family values in being on the Rolodex of the D.C. Madam.
I agree with you, but people are willing to look by it. Look at Mark Sanford. They're not willing to look past being a thief, which is interesting. You're not going to see Pedro Espada or Vinny Libel make a comeback.
So somebody give me some wood to knock on that.
Well, but that may be, but there are certain kinds of behaviors that people are willing to say, I just don't want to know. What are you going to do for me? Eliot Spitzer has a record of taking on Wall Street that no one else seems to want to do. That's going to count. But what, again, I go back to this, is there were other factors in Eliot's self-defined personality that he's going to have to deal with. And if Scott Stringer knows how to use those, this is going to be a real horse race.
I agree with what Richard said, and especially before a New York City electorate, I don't think a sex scandal is going to topple Mr. Spitzer. But I can almost see the commercial right now if I'm Scott Stringer. And the one thing we disagree about is I believe that Scott Stringer has to throw everything at Spitzer, including the kitchen sink.
Get Ashley Dupree to cut an ad.
Ashley Dupree, I mean, she's not doing it, obviously, but I agree with that sentiment. Spitzer is very good on the financial matters, but that commercial, you could almost see it now. I mean, you know, in his public life as governor, it'll be a deep-sounding voice.
Won't work. People aren't gonna hold him accountable for personal peccadillos.
But hang on, because
his public
this goes beyond just personal peccadillos, and I think you could consider Anthony Weiner to be personal peccadillos, but he broke the law in terms of engaging in a prostitute.
He was never charged.
But he even admitted to having done it. He's admitted to breaking the law, and as Attorney General, he prosecuted prostitution rings.
He admitted breaking the law. He stepped down as governor and said, I remember it well. I remember talking to him while all this was going on. He was trying to fight it And he initially
It's
didn't
one
want to
of
step
those
down as
things,
governor.
Everybody knows what he did.
Right.
But you are using lawyers' language, and
Right.
there he was never prosecuted, never indicted.
But you mentioned hypocrisy, and the hypocrisy of what everybody assumes is his breaking the law in terms of engaging with prostitutes, and B, that while as Attorney General, he did crack down on prostitution rings. He went
No
after,
doubt about it, and that's a problem for him because and the madam is one of the other candidates
right,
in this race.
right.
It's also,
That's
if you
a
want to
problem.
examine those behaviors, what's really troubling about them isn't just the hypocrisy and the immorality. It's that this is the guy who would look you in the eye and say, you never talk when you can wink, and you never wink when you can smile, and you never smile when you can sit still, you never confess. And then he went out and he did all the things he was telling the criminal class not to do. There was a self-destructive element to his behaviors that when people think about Eliot Spitzer, they're going to think about this stuff, not in terms of morality, but in terms of reliability and ability to do the job for them that they want done. This is the Sheriff of Wall Street, good. This is a guy who was a steamroller and an unreliable public person, bad. Which one will Scott Stringer define? That's what we're going to find out.
And you know, you feel bad for Scott Stringer. He was 72 hours away from locking this seat down. And 72 hours, you know, when they have to submit their petitions, it would have been locked. He would have been the front runner in this race.
And
he would have won the primary. He would have been the next city controller. Now he's a has-been and he's done. Scott Stringer's done.
There was talk, by the way, that Spitzer was going to run for state controller. About a month, 6 weeks ago, he started telling people that he was not going to do that. No one had the foresight to say, yeah, well, what about the city? You journalists blew it again.
I have to agree with that one. But you know what, Andrew, what I was trying to plot out here, somebody with Spitzer's personality, your goal in life is not to be the city controller. He wants to be the mayor. And I haven't talked to him yet about this. He wants to be, this is my assumption, he wants to be the mayor of New York.
I think we should get Dominic on his bicycle down to New York City and get that first interview in the next few days.
You telling me I need to lose weight?
No.
I need to lose weight?
No, get on the bicycle and get down there and get that interview.
But here's what I'm trying to figure out. If he is the city controller, and let's say Bill Thompson wins the mayor's race, or let's say Anthony Weiner, there are 2 terms there. So that means he can't be mayor for another 8 years. So, I mean, how does this work out?
12.
2 terms.
no, 3 now.
3 terms. Bloomberg,
3 terms
that's
now.
right. 3 terms.
One more question, because Weiner and Spitzer could theoretically end up on the same ballot. I mean, they're going to be on the primary ballot, but they could wind up on the same ballot in
imagine
November.
that?
Does Spitzer impact Weiner's chances at winning Gracie Mansion?
It's not helpful to have 2 transgressors seeking forgiveness on the same ballot. 1, maybe. 2, give me a break.
Well, that's what they're asking for, to give him a break.
Well, the voter will say, who? How many?
And you know, if you're the Republican nominee, Joe Lhota, you're thinking Rudy Giuliani, you're thinking Michael Bloomberg, and you're saying to the voter of New York City, look at that Democratic ticket. Look at them. 2 out of 3.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on RFL. We want you to keep this conversation going online. Head over to Facebook and Twitter. Join the conversation. Spitzer's back. Do sex scandals matter anymore, or did they ever matter at any point? Up next, though, the Obamacare rollout is being partially delayed, but why? Is it all for the sake of politics, or are they really trying to get this program up and running the right way? We're going to take a quick break, get into that next. Stay with us.